Hi, my name is Katie Boyer, and this is the project I'm writing as my dissertation entitled Fair Creature of an Hour, Romantic Ballet and Its Affects of Disfigurement. As a historical figure, the 19th century ballerina was stripped of her physical body in favor of an aesthetic one. She appeared as a glittering mayfly, alive for a single day, or worse, as nothing more than a visiting spirit, whose dazzling dance arrived and vanished without a trace. But, as dancer Isadora Duncan writes, quote, "Under the skirts are dancing deformed muscles. Look still farther. Underneath the muscles are deformed bones. A deformed skeleton is dancing before you." End quote. At the heart of romantic ballet is a body on the point of decay or loss, a body dancing on the cusp of cataclysm, transformation, and mutation. The ballerina's deformed skeleton, with her aching musculature, cramped calves, blisters, and cracked toenails, is densely charged with affect, a perceivable atmosphere of sensory impressions. This affect has a palpable presence, which can come to stand in for the body of the ballerina itself in a kind of ethereal substitution. My project proposes that perceiving a balletic affect is akin to reading the ballerina's body as a text. In his theorization of romantic ideology, Paul de Man forged the concept of inscription to summon the materiality of an author back to their text. To define inscription, de Man uses the example of the romantic poet Percy Bysshe Shelley, who drowned off the Italian coast before finishing his final poem, The Triumph of Life. De Man claims that the drowned body of Shelley is, quote, "present in the margin of the last manuscript page of The Triumph of Life, and has become an inseparable part of the poem." End quote. The poem is then, quote, "interrupted by an event which shapes the text, but which is not present in its represented or articulated meaning." End quote. De Man calls this interruption a defacement, a literal disfiguration of the substance of the poem. As such, any reading of the poem must acknowledge the world of matter, history, and decay. British Romanticism's notoriously high body count makes it shockingly ripe for such a treatment. Quote, "What we have done with the dead Shelley," de Man claims, "and with all the other dead bodies that appear in romantic literature, is simply to bury them in their own texts made into epitaphs and monumental graves." End quote. Romantic ballets also invite this inscriptive reading because they too have been buried in their own texts. That is, we remember the romantic ballerina's ghostly, even spiritual presence, her seeming weightlessness, and her defiance of gravity rather than her material body. I apply de Man's method in order to summon the body of the dancer back to the ballet, though in ballet it is perhaps more useful to summon the text to the body, or the dance to the dancer. Second-generation British Romantic poetry generates an aesthetics of death, decay, and deformation that turns one's gaze ceaselessly towards the body. However, the aim of this dissertation is not to affirm the popular myth of the romantic ballerina as tortured wisp, as beauty constantly vanishing around the corner. This project is very much about the ballerina's materiality, which is to say that it is about her flesh and bones, her tendons and ligaments, and her many aches and pains. My particular goal is to create a method of studying or reading the human body that is both imaginative and respectful of suffering. This method could potentially be a tool for other scholars who work extensively with the human body, such as disability theorists, performance theorists, and so on. It could also be extrapolated into other disciplines, such as creative writing, performance art, or history. By using a mixture of second-generation British poetry, affect theory, and inscription as a framework for reading the romantic ballerina's body, this project will hopefully transform ballet's translucent specters and sylphides back into the overworked and shuddering bodies lurking beneath the soft lines of the romantic tutu, bodies, quote, "half in love with easeful death," end quote, even as they perform stunning feats of athleticism. Thank you.